I'm learning more to try to shut up on things that I don't know about.
Yeah.
Like Jerry curls. And I'm telling you, I still
let your soul glow, bro.
I like I'm still mind blown how I almost put that connection together. That's why we had covered furniture. Are we anyway? But we're never gonna figure that out. What's the best era? You came up. I say the '90s was the best era.
I don't know, because I find value in each of them. I mean, there's a part of me that wants to say the '80s, just because that's the one that I most relate to, and there's just so much about it that is etched in my brain, not just high school years, but also starting college, my first few years of college. And it's the era, but it's also the region.
Yeah.
And what I saw in Flint and in Michigan, what I experienced in a blue collar home in Flint in the '80s. So all of that, but so much of my life and just who I am is wrapped up also in music. And bookended and punctuated by music. And so, 80s music, bro.
Let's stay right there on music for a second. Because this conversation I was having with somebody, anytime like oldies is played and you see like a kid, like a 20-year-old today, and, you hear somebody go, man, you don't know nothing about that. Why do people or some people think that this generation and generations that didn't live through that time can't connect to that music?
Well, maybe a few things, right? You kind of want something to be special and unique to you and your upbringing and your era, your time, your coming of age. And so there's some of that, like, folks want to have this exclusive club to the '80s or to the '90s or to the '70s or '60s or whatever you claim. So there's that. But also we all, I would imagine we all experience from time to time people who are in later generations who don't take the time to get to know or let alone show any kind of reverence or value or appreciation for what came before them, or even really the steps that led to the rap that you experience today, or the R&B or soul that you experience today, or whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think there's probably a few things, and I think it's just I don't know, a rite of passage, but a cultural thing where we like to poo-poo on anything that's different from what we did or what we knew.
It kind of makes sense though, because like to really feel the music, like, can you imagine being in the club when Rock With You came out? Like, just
can I imagine?
I ain't trying to age you.
Can I imagine?
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually can imagine. I don't have to imagine.
All right, my bad. I keep forgetting.
Yeah.
I can't told you. I think you're 45,
yeah.
man. Like,
yeah. Let's go with it.
Sorry, AARP or whatever. Like, minor's on the way, so I can't make.
Bro.
But yeah, I listened to some of this music and I was like, man, you talking about this came out? And it's even now, like some, I listen to like Sail On and we'll just put that on repeat and like, no way these guys was going against everybody that was out at this time and they still rose. And so, I don't know. So what's your thoughts on the remix era of music?
I actually appreciate it as long as we give deference and acknowledge the originals. I think part of the problem that anyone who might have a problem with remixes, part of the problem they have with that is that we don't do enough in acknowledging the original. And I'm still amazed at songs that I later learned, oh, that wasn't the original, or that's that really such true. And such was sampled from, that piece was sampled from that song. And that kind of comes back to the, oh, you don't know good music or It's I think all connected to the degree that we acknowledge that song that we're bumping today on the radio or in your car or whatever, that sample that you love so much, please understand that that's from a 60s, 70s, whatever, 80s song, and it's the bass line or it's the hook from or whatever.
Got robbed.
Yeah. And I was thinking about remixes and there are remixes all over the place. Maybe, really greater proliferation of that in the 90s and on. But when I think about some of the remixes in the 90s and the, 200s, 2000s. Yes.
That era is nuts.
Yes. I mean, think about, like a Mary J. Blige's Love No Limit. I can't even half remember the original. The remix is so dope.
Oh, yeah.
Said I'm loving you every day. Like, that's the song. and even up to Beyonce and Destiny's Child, with that No, I can barely recall that it started as a slow jam.
Yeah.
No. It don't even sound right. No. Yeah. And then the other one I thought about was it Drew Hill's Somebody Sleeping in My Bed?
Oh man.
It was a slow jam first. The remix, oh my God.
The way Drew Hill had us in a chokehold.
Yeah.
Is crazy.
Yes.
Who had a bigger chokehold, Drew Hill or Jagged Edge?
Drew Hill.
Yeah, you're right.
And I did.
Five steps will still get tears out of us.
At 5 Steps and what's my other one? Beautiful. And her name is Beauty.
Name?
Beauty is her name.
Yeah.
Yes. But Jagged Edge has some
if
bangers.
Somebody's lying if they said they never did the outstretched arms R&B pose in the mirror. You're lying if you tell me you never did that. You're straight up lying.
Yeah.
If you grew up in that era.
You didn't listen. For real. But yeah, that remix situation is something. And again, appreciate the original, but when you come with something that's special. That's going to be memorable.
All right, switching gears. You represent one of the Divine Nine. Give us please state that fraternity for everybody listening.
Yeah, I wore this crimson tie. Make sure there was no question. Representing the Good Brothers, the Noble Clan, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. I don't know, man. It's such a big part of who I am.
Yeah,
and what I believe and how I move through the world.
So I stand right there. Right, I find it interesting and the difference in sorority and fraternity life on the black side versus the white side, where you see with a lot of whites that pledge, Greek life, once they finish college, it's done, it's off, we're rolling, but we'll take it and keep it as a complete identifier lifelong. I've seen guys, they don't even know how to dance no more. They just do whatever the stroll is for their fraternity. Why do you think that is?
That's such a good question. And crazy. I'm baffled more by why our white brothers and sisters don't hold on to it. There's so much about college life that I look back on fondly. All the struggles, all the great times, the wonderful relationships, all those things that we hold on to. So I think there's certainly some of that's involved in why we hold on to it. It's a part of kind of our coming of age and finding ourselves and establishing who we are and what we're about in that. For sure, establishing the clan that we'll hold on to and that will push and challenge us, that we'll be inspired by, motivated by, hopefully that we'll do some work with and, have some collaboration going on. I think for us, because of I would say because of the reasoning for why historically Black Greek letter organizations were established is a good piece of why it continues to live in our veins and part of culture and on. It was established as a place for us to go and be seen and heard and valued and supported and have place, have community. And that while times have changed, the need for that has not necessarily diminished.
Yeah.
Add to that, it's just, who doesn't want a group of folks who, from the gate, appreciate you, greet you with love, and have some level of commitment to your success and safety? Who doesn't want that? And so, I would imagine there's more to it, but at a base level, there's something just about there's community that we needed back then, that we need today, that there's so much about the fraternities and sororities that supports and encourages us to remain connected to community, connected to mentorship and development, and holding ourselves and one another accountable for continued growth and improvement. That's just a win-win. It's just a good thing. Why wouldn't we?
So, in light of that recent hazing news where the young man was died, what do you think when you speak of brotherhood and the whole nine? I have a clip too that I want to play. I want to get your thoughts on as well. But what needs to change on that? Because guys shouldn't be. We still don't know the full story, so you can't. I think people shouldn't comment. But I've seen enough of this with all right, hazing.
It's awful. Yeah. It's unfortunate. Whatever the truth is and whatever all the details might be, the fact is someone's lost their life.
Yeah.
And a few other someones are likely to lose their freedom.
That's what Ryan Clark.
Right. And so, yeah.
Did you see that clip already?
I did.
Okay, I won't play it then.
I did. I'm a huge fan of the pivot. So huge.
I saw that today and I was like, whoa, I resonate because the reason I dropped line in college, I was pledging Kappa. It's crazy. I've never told this story except for maybe twice. Even my dad was shocked. But the reason I dropped line is I was at Jackson State and we were pledging. And, a couple of weeks in, they come to us and they say, because they had been, I think, blackballed or kicked off the yard. I can't remember. It was 02 or so, Delta. And they were like, hey, y'all can keep pledging, but you're not going to be recognized nationally. You're going to be underground. And, I'm sitting there you're not going to keep whooping. I'm not going to keep taking ass whoopings from y'all, buying chicken and beer, waking me up at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And running me through mind games.
Yeah.
But I remember those ass whippings we would get for that couple of weeks. And I was like, damn, this is just.
Yeah.
And I resonated with Ryan Clark's message because I was like, yeah, why were they beating us like that?
You look back to more historical versions of or experiences around the initiation process. And it really was about creating an experience that will be lifelong, that you'll remember for the rest of your lives, and that will in some ways bind you with your line brothers for a lifetime. You all had an experience that was yours and that you'll carry forward. I am confident that not our founding members nor founders of any of the other fraternities or sororities intended that folks would be killed or hurt or disrespected in ways that whole process has taken on.
I'll be clear. I'm all for weeding out.
Yes, absolutely. It's important to know that for you individually to know, but also for the organization to know that you're serious, because once you know the ritualistic secrets and once you know all the things and become a part of the bond, like you are part of the bond. And so we don't need you deciding later on, I don't really want to do this. No, decide now. Let's decide now.
Take this wood.
Right. But I would be remiss if I didn't say, and like, it's a new day.
Yeah.
It's a new day. Fraternities and sororities have been very clear for decades now that like, we're not supposed to be doing that anymore. And
but then people are just paying the money to get in. I don't think that's not what it was either.
Oh, no, that wasn't intended. And what I'll say is that, there's a process in place to where no one should simply be stroking a check to get into an organization. There's a process in place to help you to get to know your line brothers, get to know your fraternity, and build a level of appreciation and dare I say devotion to your fraternity. It's not cheap, right? Not in the initiation, let alone the years beyond that. There's always a financial outlay. And so again, if it's not something you're down for, don't do it. Don't do it. But the whole hazing thing is really unfortunate that any of that continues. I understand to some degree those who had a different experience and want others to have a similar experience, i.e. the pledging, more physical pledging process. But we're at a place now where our whole fraternities and sororities are in danger of being wiped out. If for no other reason than for liability, the cost of liability for some of these incidents. And, while it was this latest incident was a different organization, it affects us all. And let's be real clear, it's not just the Black, historically Black Greek letter organizations. It's, these fraternities and sororities writ large. Everybody's got to be, more serious about and intentional about rooting out that kind of pledging because it hurts us all. Yeah. And it sullies some really good work and really good names and reputations and histories and traditions across the board that, is again, really unfortunate.
So what do you think is the most lit Black Greek wedding pairing combination at the reception?
And do you mean
like when they're getting married? Yeah. Like the bride and the groom. What's the most lit Black Greek?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, we don't have to fight over what color the wedding is going to be if it's the Kappa and Delta.
Yeah. Well, that's a convenience, but because I went to my sister's wedding. She's an AKA, he was an Alpha. And I got to tell you, after a certain point, when enough of them drinks was had, them boys came through doing that. I was like, what is going on? But I loved it.
I don't know what was going on. I wasn't there, but
I dare not do their moves.
Can't even imagine what was going on with those cats. But good.
It got hype. I was like,
good for them. I'll take your word. I'll take your word for it. I'll take your word for it. No, what's crazy is I've got some wonderful friends who are in all of the. I mean, one of my college roommates was one of your cousins. So who's in another organization. So. I've got great friends in the other, organizations. I still believe Kappa and Delta.
Yeah. Kappa and Delta.
That crimson and cream is it's a beautiful thing.
It's funny you speak on that roommate because that was the night that I was like, oh, he's got to come on. I got to do an episode with him because that was the night we cut up. I think we had officially, was that the first night or that was the second meeting?
Maybe second.
Yeah, it had to be the second meeting. Yeah. And finally I was like, he a fool about it. Like we gotta talk about this more.
Indeed.
That was just great though, man. And again, thank you for coming on. And like staying with the fraternities, Divine Nine was formed because you couldn't join white fraternities. All right. And gotten to the level, how do you feel about whites now trying to join the Divine Nine or becoming part of it?
Yeah, that's an interesting question and I'll say dilemma or notion. So at the end of the day, if you desperately want to be, then as I desperately wanted to become a member of Kappa, then I'm certainly not the one to say you shouldn't. I just always have the question, why?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you want it? And again, that's a fair question for any of us. Why do you want it? I'm not of the mind that white men or women should not be allowed to join these historically Black Greek letter organizations. I just want to make sure that we're always asking ourselves, what is it about this organization that speaks to you?
Mm-hmm.
I know why it speaks to me. There's a cultural piece, there's a historical piece, there's and we're a social organization. While we do community-based or community service and that sort of thing, it's a social organization. So what I'm committing to is maintaining and even increasing my social connection with Black men through this fraternity. And so for a white guy who's interested, is that what you want? If so, then come on, just understand what this is, right? This is intended to build up Black men and Black community. And to the extent that you want to be a part of this and do this, come on. Yeah, absolutely. That's where I stand with it. I don't ever want us to get to a place where we start to change this in the name of let's make it more diversified in terms of the experiences and focus. No, this was created to support Black folks, Black men in particular, in developing them and encouraging and supporting them to be great and self-actualize and all of that, focused on Black community and that. So to the degree that you want to do that and be a part of that, great. But let's not start to rethink the purpose of the fraternity. You got a thought on that?
To those listening, I take full heat for this next. I was thinking, why would they want that? And I think back to the civil rights struggle and James Meredith trying to integrate Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
Why did he want that when it was why did we want so badly into what they were doing?
Yeah. So, recall again, the difference here is there's the broader society and spaces that were not available to us. Let's create something that is available to us. Broader society being schools, universities, businesses, et cetera, to the extent that, we were trying to get into and actually had to fight to get into universities and other institutions. That's part of broader society. And, there's a need for us to move in the world, even as we were trying to create a space that was safe and where you're not going to be targeted and where you can be affirmed and all those things in the fraternity. So I see those as two different things.
Yeah, different, but also same, because it's the same. Like, do you feel if we never would have integrated, what do you think the strength of the Black community would have been if we never integrated? If we stayed with the thriving measures that we had.
There's a whole lot to be said about what was and what was lost through integration, in terms of diffusing the Black middle class or like dollars and educated individuals. I don't, it's hard to say what would have been, but what we know is that we lost some of the educators and businessmen and women and others that were specifically focused in Black communities and recycling Black dollars through those businesses and services and whatnot in the Black community, because their other experiences and opportunities weren't available to them. When more opportunities were available, more individuals were able to move out and take advantage of those opportunities. But Black communities, of course, then suffered some losses with that, all of the talent and dollars and whatnot.
If more people knew how many measures are in place today because of racism, like things that are like even healthcare, right? Healthcare, privatized healthcare is in place. Like Meemaw and Pawpaw can't get their medicines and whatnot based on racist practices that incurred because they did not want Blacks to be healthy. They essentially, when I say they, I'm talking about the ominous they, everybody says they, but they were put in place so that hopefully we would die off. I even learned earlier the bar exam in South Carolina was only instituted when Blacks started going to law school and getting degrees, and then another barrier was put in place, the bar exam. So if it wouldn't have been for like some asshole want to be racist, the bar exam would not be a thing. And a lot of you lawyers who are like mall attorneys would probably be a little more successful.
Ooh, you're picking all kinds of fights. So, I mean, and as a professional who is required to have a license as an educator, like I'm down for that. Like, I think it is important that if you provide a particular service, professional service, that there be some standards by which you're held responsible for. And we can talk all day though about what's appropriate and fair and necessary in terms of those standards. But that's something that I don't think is inherently wrong. Clearly, where the intentions were about keeping this group out of this profession or, limiting their opportunities to grow and prosper, in that, there you see the issues. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. We haven't talked once about like you coming in as a superintendent of Jackson Public Schools. I figure you got to talk about that a lot, so I won't stay on it long. But what made you decide to take that position? And did you know how bad the education system was here before you took it?
Great questions. So what made me want to take it? I had been looking for a superintendency. I was building towards that role in my career. I had served as teacher and principal and principal supervisor and a few other central office roles, increasingly higher or greater responsibility across several school districts in DC and Detroit and Tulsa, Oklahoma, before coming here. So I'd been looking for an opportunity to lead a school district. I had done a bit of work, and I'm thankful, very grateful to mentors and folks I've worked with, leaders that I've worked with to help me process what kind of work did I want to do? Who do I want to serve? What's kind of the right size, the sweet spot in terms of the size of the school district and conditions that I think I would do well in? And so there's a lot about Jackson and Jackson Public Schools that just worked for me. One, the size, at that time, we were about 25 or so thousand scholars. I had only worked in districts that were nearly double or more that size. And so I felt like it was large enough to matter, this being the state capital and a urban center in the in the country, large enough to matter nationally, to be on the national scene, but also small enough to get your arms around.
Yeah.
Because this is wholly social, it's relational. And so much of the work is about the relationships we build with scholars, with their families, and of course with our team members, and our ability to rally folks around a common cause and vision. And so I saw that in Jackson. For real, it's hard to follow a beloved, highly decorated and honored leader. It's hard to follow them. And
that
so,
being?
In any role, frankly,
okay.
but, to include the superintendency. And so, the fact that we had some challenges here, and we had had an interim for some time, and, it had been a while since we had the permanent soup. It was, that was a space that I was conscious of that should be a little easier to move into. Folks were looking for the next leader to come in and do some things. Also, the fact that there had already been lots of conversations and reports and just a lot of clarity around the brokenness and the things that needed to be fixed, which meant that the superintendent wouldn't have to come in and name it for folks and hurt people's feelings and run the risk of disrespecting people who had been working here in the district for decades and giving of themselves and sacrificing and all those things. When you come in and that's already been named, okay, so we don't have to fight about that. We can talk about how we work together to fix it. So that was helpful. As well, so I should also name also the partners that were in place, Kellogg Foundation, the city, and others. That was attractive. But lastly, after meeting this board and understanding that neither of them wanted to be superintendent, they weren't faking and shaking from the board seat, wanting to puppeteer a superintendent, but really wanted somebody in the seat who would do the job so that they could remain in their governance seat. And the governance structure, the fact that they're not elected, the fact that they're appointed and by the mayor and confirmed by the council, all of that matters. You look around the country and you see boards and superintendents that are at odds and, just all kinds of drama and foolishness. It's like, I don't want that. This job is hard enough, just making sure that kids get what they need. I don't want to be fighting with the adults. So those are the things that really attracted me to it. And then I got here and fell in love. Fell in love with the city. It's, this bit of grittiness. Reminds me in some ways of Flint, of my home. Folks believe in Jackson State, and believe in, this city with soul and all of that. It's just like, okay, we can do this.
Speaking of Flint, how tired are you of Flint water jokes?
I mean, they're fighting words. So, how tired are the people from getting that eye dotted from making them? You're not about to make one, are you?
No, I'm not. I got one last question before we get out of here, though. I want to get your thoughts on something, on this statement. I want to get your thoughts on every relationship is transactional.
It is. I agree with that. I don't think it's that's all there is to it. And I think the word transactional has a lot of connotations that can throw people off. But the reality is, we rarely will a relationship sustain if there's not some transaction, some set series of transactions.
Yeah.
Time, resources, emotion, affirmation, whatever it might be. There's something in the relationship, whatever the relationship, that is a transaction between the two, or the two entities, or the whatever the relationship
It's a hell of a summation. Exactly what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Errick Greene, Superintendent of JPS.
Wait, we've been recording?
Yes.
That's it? And there we have it.
There we have it.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You really didn't know we were recording? Yeah, you did.